usually second.
Okay, that's what I said. All my time is on the first. So,
Especially for something like this. This is
gotcha.
most worthy.
I just check to see if this is turned off.
Yeah. We good?
We're here.
I call the regular council meeting for Monday, January 28th, 2019 of the Norton City Council to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of reflection. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Be seated, please. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Mr. Gaynor?
Here.
Mr. McClone?
Here.
Mr. Carrot?
Here.
Mr. Towsley?
Here.
Ms. Whipke?
Here.
Mr. Pelot?
Here.
Mr. Kernan?
Here. Communications from the public. We have one tonight. Please step forward, state your name and address for the record. Remember, you have 5 minutes.
Michael Meaden, formerly of 3177 Cleveland Masson Road. As I'm sure most of you are aware, I no longer live in Norton. Moved to Lafayette Township into kind of my little dream home out there. I just wanted to stop in and let council know, boy, I hope the project going in where I used to live is going to be an asset to the community, and that everything goes well. I really hope that this becomes something that helps the Loyal Oak area out, moving in the right direction. I will not miss living on Cleveland Masson Road with all the road noise. I won't miss listening to Barberton Speedway on a Saturday night that I can't hear the radio while I'm sitting by the fire. I won't miss the light pollution out there. I enjoy stargazing. There's a lot of things I won't miss, including living in that 150-year-old house that required maintenance every time I turned around. What I will miss, however, are the people here in Norton. Not only from the mayor's office right on down, and I'm not just talking about Mike's administration, past and present. I've really enjoyed working with everybody here. And just the fact that I'm leaving Norton, or have left, doesn't mean that I still can't be a part of the community. I am still willing to help you guys out wherever I can. I will always be from Norton. So, you know, anytime you guys need anything that you know I can help out, I'll be more than happy to do so. Main reason I came was just to thank everybody. Police department as well. They've been a lot of help to me over the years, as has council. So I wish everybody well, and I hope to keep in touch with everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Meaden. Okay, moving on to Committee of the Whole, reports from standing committees. Before we get into that, I would like to add one thing to Committee of the Whole. As we do every year, we need to add the Volunteer Firefighters Dependents Fund. We have a need for 2 people to serve on that for the year. So we will need to talk about that under Committee of the Whole. I think in the past, Mr. Markey, we've just kind of, 2 people have been chosen and we've just kind of appointed them.
That's
to
right.
that, correct?
Right.
Okay. Doesn't need anything beyond that.
I don't think it needs anything more.
All
formal
right.
than
So
that.
why don't we go ahead and take care of that now, and then we'll move on to reports from standing committees. Last year it was Scott and Paul who had served on the Dependents Fund. Any discussion regarding that? Are they willing to continue?
I'd be more than willing if.
I'm willing to continue.
All right, everyone in favor of that, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, we took care of that. Good. All right, one thing down. All right, reports from standing committees. Are there any reports from standing committees or any members of council?
Yes, Mr. President.
Ms. Whipke?
At this time, I would like to amend Ordinance 3, 2019, the grant application from the Recreational Trail Program through Ohio Department of Natural Resources, as the language limiting the amount to $150,000 has been added.
All right, and it's my understanding, if I'm correct, that that is the upper limit of what we can apply for, and that's why we're adding that in there, correct? Okay.
I'll second that.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to amend Ordinance 3, 2019, which I believe is up for its third reading tonight.
think
Second reading tonight.
we're
so
waiving.
We're going to waive, so motion and a second to amend that. Call the roll, please.
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. Towesley?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes.
Before we move off of this subject, I had a couple questions. If the total cost is and I think this is for Mr. Fowler, if the total cost is $307,000, so this one grant would be paying for half of it?
Yes. Yeah, and the grant, there are two grants, one's 75-25, the other one's 80-20. I think the grant we're applying for is the 80-20 with the 150,000 max. So of the 300,000, the 150, we'd have to come up with, let's just say on a worst case scenario, 25%, which would be about $40,000. So yeah, we would complete the entire project with that.
Okay, well, that answers my other question, and that's the split on it. I'm done with that.
Okay.
And also, I just want to say, last week I misspoke when I said the city had 21 miles that needed maintained by our service department. I should have said 21 square miles. Since then, I have checked into this, and the reality of it is we have 284 lane miles that our service department has to take care of. And Mr. Hess gave me some information on that, and we have more lane miles than any of the cities around us. Our trucks, of which we've got 5, they're each having the average of 57 miles per truck, 57 miles. And the average of the rest of all the cities, and that includes ODOT, District 4, Barberton, Wadsworth, and Copley, is 30 lane miles per truck. So I don't care what anybody says. Our guys did an excellent, wonderful job with what it is that they have to cover and how they manage to do it. And I asked him what a lane mile was. So just for the public's information, a lane mileage can be found by multiplying the continual driving lanes and center line lane mileage. This includes all the lanes. So when I say the 284, the way I'm understanding this, if there's double lane there going down the average road, then that's 2 lanes. But I just wanted to clarify what it is I had said, because I'm at 21 miles, why couldn't they handle that? But that's why, and they do an excellent job when you start to think about how much extra they have to cover for everybody else and what it is we have to work with. I'm done now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Whipke. Is there anything else to come before Committee of the Whole?
Actually, just a question. Do we know when we will have our new truck with the plow with the wing?
Well, we have the tandem that we bought last year that has the wing. It is operational. The new truck we bought won't have a wing, but it is at the Freightliner chassis. I signed for the paperwork today. It is at the shop having the body, the dump body put on it. So we're hopeful in 3 to 4 weeks, maybe 6, depending on the time frame for the conversion.
Now, will that give us a 6 truck in rotation, or will we maintain 5 trucks because of the number of drivers? And
Our goal is to have 8. So we're just, because the past we have not been as requesting of council to fulfill our equipment needs. We're trying to play catch up, but we're trying to play catch up in a slow and methodical way. The goal is to have 8 serviceable vehicles that we rotate one every year so that we get a better trade-in value and that we have high quality vehicles servicing our community. The goal is 8. If we can get 8, we have 8 drivers. If we can have all those guys out, that helps us ultimately serve our citizenry better, and it drives down that mileage. But right now, the way we are operating, we only have 4. We'll have 6 next year, so we'll be improving our ability to serve.
thank you.
Anything else to come before Committee of the Whole? All right, hearing nothing, then we'll move on to consideration of minutes. The minutes of the regular council meeting of January 14th, 2019. Are there any additions or corrections to those? They will be accepted as submitted. The minutes of the committee work session of January 22nd, 2019. Are there any additions or corrections to those? Those will also be accepted as submitted. Reports from officers, boards, and commissions. Mayor Zita.
Thank you. I have nothing this evening.
Mr. Fowler.
I have nothing today.
Mr. Messner.
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Markey.
Nothing, thank you.
All right. We are now at the point where we need to have some public hearings in about 4 minutes. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to move on to introduction of new legislation and read a couple of those, and then we'll come back. So, Ordinance 5, 2019, Ms. Whipke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I introduce Ordinance 5, 2019 for its first reading. Ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance to amend Section 408.04 of the codified ordinances of the City of Norton, Ohio.
Thank you. This is for first reading only.
Thank you, Ms. Whipke. Ordinance number 6, 2019, Ms. Whipke.
I introduce Ordinance 6, 2019 for its first reading. Ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance to amend the appropriations for the current expenses of the City of Norton for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2019, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, at this time, I motion to waive the second and third readings.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to waive the second and third readings of Ordinance 6, 2019. Is there any discussion regarding just the waiver at this time? Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. Towsley?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes.
This time, I motion to adopt Ordinance 6, 2019.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt Ordinance 6, 2019. Is there any discussion regarding the ordinance? Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. Towsley?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes. Resolution number 7, 2019, Mr. McGlone.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer resolution number 7, 2019 for its first reading, and ask the clerk to read it, please.
A resolution confirming the reappointment of Sandy Crescent to a new 3-year term as the Ward 2 representative on the Board of Zoning and Building Appeals of the City of Norton and declaring an emergency.
First reading only.
Thank you, Mr. McGlone. We'll move on to introduction of prior legislation. Ordinance number 3, 2019, Ms. Whipke.
Wow.
We can't do the other ones because we haven't had the public hearing yet.
Took me off there for a minute. I introduce amended Ordinance 3, 2019 for its second reading. Ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into contracts with Legal Defender Office of Summit County, Ohio, Incorporated, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. I motion to waive the third reading.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to waive the third reading. I don't see that. Ordinance 3 should be
Number
the
3, yeah.
administrative officers submit an application to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources.
Yes.
Oh, my apologies.
It's okay. Let's go back and
What'd we do?
I think we just read the wrong one. So just,
Yeah.
if you'll just offer that again, Ms. Whipke.
Hey, I
We
introduced,
got to remove first.
Oh.
I'll remove my second.
I remove my motion.
Okay.
Okay, I introduce amended ordinance 3, 2019 for its second reading and ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance authorizing the administrative officer to submit an application to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources for a recreational trails program grant and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This is what we discussed during committee of the whole. My motion to waive the third reading.
I have a motion. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to waive the third reading. Is there any discussion regarding waiver? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. Towesley?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes.
I motion to adopt ordinance 3, 2019.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 3, 2019. Is there any discussion regarding the ordinance? Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. Towesley?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes. All right, we will move back to public hearings at 7:15. And so I now declare the public hearing convened on resolution number 8, 2019. Resolution number 8, 2019, a resolution to approve the renewal for placement of farmland located at 4044 Summit Road, Norton, Ohio, in an agricultural district. Would the clerk please certify the legal notice was published in the Barberton Herald on January 17th, 2019?
I so certify.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak for the said renewal? Please give your name and address to the stenographer. For the second time, is there anyone who wishes to speak for the said renewal? Please give your name and address to the stenographer.
Yeah, my name is Jim Lino, 5058 Grove Avenue in Norton. I hope when I read this thing, it's for renewal of agriculture. I'm hoping it's to keep this place agricultural rather
Correct.
than, okay?
Yes.
And so I'm all for it because if you get on Reimer Road and head towards Wadsworth and see what happened to that beautiful farmland out there, and I was raised in this city and had all that farmland around me go to pot. So I'm in favor of keeping it agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Lino. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for the said renewal? Please give your name and address to the stenographer. For the third and final time, is there anyone who wishes to speak for the said renewal? Please give your name and address to the stenographer.
I'm just going to make a blanket statement here. I agree with Mr. Lino. I'm always in favor of maintaining our agricultural districts. Can't miss seeing them all, just like you do.
Thank you, Ms. Whipke. Is there anyone who wishes to speak against the said renewal? Please give your name and address to the stenographer. Is there anyone who wishes to speak against the said renewal? Please give your name and address to the stenographer. For the third and final time, is there anyone who wishes to speak against the said renewal? Please give your name and address to the stenographer. I now declare the public hearing closed.
Mr. President, there's one more.
Do the other.
2.
There are two different public hearings, right?
I think
Same.
they're on the same public hearing.
You're right.
However we want to do it's fine. If we want to open a new one, let's do it.
Okay. I now declare the public hearing open for resolution number 09-2019. Resolution number 09-2019, A resolution to approve the renewal for placement of farmland located at 4117 Greenwich Road, Norton, Ohio, in an agricultural district. Would the clerk please certify the legal notice was published in the Barberton Herald on January 17th, 2019.
I so certify.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak for the said renewal? Please give your name and address to the stenographer.
Jim Lino, 5058 Grove Avenue in Norton. Again, I'm for to keep this agricultural.
Thank you, Mr. Lino. Is there anyone who wishes to speak for the said renewal? Please give your name and address to the stenographer. For the third and final time, is there anyone who wishes to speak for the said renewal? Please give your name and address to the stenographer. Is there anyone who wishes to speak against the said renewal? Please give your name and address to the stenographer. Is there anyone who wishes to speak against the said renewal? Please give your name and address to the stenographer. For the third and final time, is there anyone who wishes to speak against the said renewal? Please give your name and address to the stenographer. I now declare the public hearing closed.
Before we go on,
Yes.
Mr. Markey, could we have just done those as a consent agenda?
On those, once you held the hearing, you mean? Once you held to pass them, you could do them on a consent agenda, sure. I mean, you could do theoretically, any legislation on a
Okay,
consent agenda.
at the public hearing, no, but when we
Public
get,
hearing, yeah, it needed to be done
okay.
separately.
But when we get down to actually voting on them, then they can go as a consent agenda.
I'm okay with that, but we're pretty much done. At this point, let's just, let's
Well,
separate
I'm
them.
looking because I know we have a bunch more coming up.
5 more on February 11th.
In the future, if council chose to do a consent agenda for these items, I would say that would be appropriate for these types of items, yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we will move back to resolution number 8, 2019. Mr. Gaynor?
Yes, I'll introduce Resolution 8, 2019. Ask the clerk to read it, please, for its first reading.
A resolution to approve the renewal for placement of farmland located at 4044 Summit Road in an agricultural district.
Yes.
Waive.
Yeah, I want to waive, if I could, the second and third reading and ask.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to waive the second and third readings of resolution number 8, 2019. Is there any discussion regarding the waiver? Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Towsley?
Yes.
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes. Resolution
To approve it or adopt it.
Resolution 9, 2019. Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
We didn't adopt it.
He's got
I
it.
just
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
just asked to move to adopt it or approve it.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 8, 2019. Is there any discussion regarding adoption? Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Towsley?
Yes.
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes. Now resolution number 9, 2019. Mr. Gaynor?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I offer Resolution 9 to 2019 and ask the clerk to read it, please.
A resolution to approve the renewal for placement of farmland located at 4117 Greenwich Road in an agricultural district.
Yes, I'd like to waive the second and third reading if possible, please.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to waive the second and third readings of resolution 9, 2019. Is there any discussion regarding waiver?
Mr. President, just
Yeah.
for my curiosity,
Mr. Towsley? Mhm.
What is the purpose we waive on this? I'm not against it. Is it just to move it along for the residents' sake, or
I think it's probably just to do that, so that the residents,
there's no necessary real hurry, though?
And then we also have a specific timeline, though. We only have, is it 30 days to act?
It's until the first Monday in March.
Okay. I'm just curious. Thank you.
I'll tell you that my reasoning mostly is just for the residents so that they have their,
Right, okay.
that's taken care of. Any further discussion regarding waiver? Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Towsley?
Yes.
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes.
I'll move to adopt, please.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 9, 2019. Is there any discussion? Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Towesley?
Yes.
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
And Mr. Kernan?
Yes. Public service announcements. Mayor Zita?
Before you go ahead,
Uh-huh.
I just wanted to bring it to the public's attention that on the first one that we approved on Summit Road, that was 51.74 acres. That's going to stay farmland in the city. And on the second one, it's the Cyberlin Farm portions of it, at least 132.86 acres. That's also remaining as agricultural. I think it's a very good thing that we keep these farmers in the community as much as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Gaynor.
And it's probably the wrong time, but I just remembered something while we were talking. Charlotte changed, we approved the minutes for last week.
Use your microphone, please.
Pardon?
Use your microphone, please.
No. Charlotte changed the road miles and the statements about the road miles and everything. Shouldn't that be changed in the minutes?
No, because that's not what I
That's what
said.
she said. So
I
it'll be
fixed it this
reflected
time.
So the,
You
the,
mean
min- the minutes the last time will reflect
So
what
they're
she
not,
actually
they're
said.
not to be corrected? you mean?
Correct.
Okay, all right, okay.
That's why I said that I misspoke last time,
Yeah,
so
I
that
know.
we'd get it right.
Wanted to make sure they didn't have to be corrected. That's all.
Okay, anything else regarding that?
Nope.
Public service announcements. Mayor Zita.
I have none at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Fowler, Mr. Messner.
Just want to let everyone know that there'll be an announcement probably tonight, tomorrow, that the fire station will be available as a warming center from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 p.m. as needed. So we'll be offering the fire station as a shelter for anyone who may lose their heat or electric or something for the next few days.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Markey, anything?
Nothing at this time.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. All right. Then we are going to move on to an executive session to consider employment matters as defined in Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22 G1 and Section 3.121 of the Norton City Charter. I move then that we move into executive session.
Second.
Have a motion and second to enter into executive session. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. Towesley?
Yes.
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Just a note to everyone, while council is in executive session, the audio and video is recording live and uninterrupted. If you do not want your conversations recorded, please exit the council chambers. I would also indicate that when we return from recess in executive session, there will be no further legislative action taken. So, oh yes, and then I would invite Mr. Messner, Mr. Zita, Mr. Fowler, and Mr. Markey. We are in recess.
Moving right along here. Got my goodies.
Yeah, you can't forget that.
Okay. I thought that's what it was. Yeah.
Once we get it, we have 30 days to enact.
Yeah. If we don't, it automatically.
Oh, it automatically goes.
So they don't get penalized.
Gotcha. How you doing, big guy?
Living the dream.
Yeah, that baby. How's your boy doing? He play any does any baseball or anything? That's what I was gonna ask. Really? So. He's on a travel baseball team.
Because he's come on a number of occasions. But, and I think it's Lyon. That was Mr. Lyon that spoke, wasn't it? Lyon.
Okay, he is at, it's 5058 Grove.
Okay.
Okay, cool. I can look on some kind of, it's gotta be somewhere, right?
I can call him.
Oh, okay.
I'll just ask him if Councilman Leon.
Okay. Cool.
So I'll just shoot
Call,
you an email.
Yeah, good. Thank you very much.
No problem. Sweet guy, huh?
Yeah. Yes. Okay, I'll see you later on. Thanks.
Have a nice night. Be safe out there. It might get bad on the roads.
It's raining. Next, I guess it'll be locusts.
Could be.
Good night.
Good night.
And we expect a full report from your business.
Oh, boy.
We don't need him.
He's coming. I call the regular Norton Council meeting back to order. Is there any further business to come before council? Is there a meeting to adjourn?
Mike,
So
motion?
motion.
Second?
Me?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Oh, yeah.
I know, right? All right, so just one copy to Michelle? Or just both Michelle and Joe?
I'd send it to Michelle.